Hello and welcome to my question and answers video. This is Pete the Irish pilot. I threw the doors open recently to invite questions and I got more than two. Could you believe it? Now look, having heard that, if you're in the wrong place, then clear off and we'll say nothing about it. The rest of you stick around and enjoy the answers that are coming up and more. If you have any questions in the future, please do let me know. But in the meantime, enjoy the video. It's not true. It absolutely is trained for. And it is something that you do in your initial training. You have to be able to swim at least 50 meters. We do wet drills with the cabin crew into the life rafts that are on the aircraft. We wear the life vests that are under the seats. And certainly in my day, every 3 years, you had to demonstrate that you could carry out a ditching procedure with the aircraft, obviously in the simulator, following all engine failure where there was no airport to land at. So it definitely is trained and checked. Right, the list, here we go. Bulldog, Jet Provost 3, Jet Provost 5, Hawk T Mark 1, T Mark 1A, Tornado GR1, GR1A, Airbus A330, Airbus A340-300, A340-600, and Boeing 787, which is a common rating with a 777. I took off from Heathrow going to Miami on one occasion and got struck by lightning just over Windsor. Subsequently found out we had been hit 45 times, but it took out all of the instrumentation. This was on a 340-600 on the first officer side, so all I had was my primary displays on the left, and we had lost a great variety of services, but the redundancy on the aircraft meant that we could still go and dump fuel for a couple of hours in fair weather off the Welsh coast and return to Heathrow dodging the clouds like a Cessna 150. It's really amazing what you can do on an emergency squawk with air traffic. We were like kids in a sweet shop, actually having a great time, albeit only 50% of the flight deck was working. Simple answer to your question is no. The structure of the aircraft has been tested to many times more than the load that severe turbulence will bring to bear on the airplane in flight. The professionalism and the airmanship of the operating crew will keep you safe, keep you away from any of the big cumulus clouds, the big weather build-ups, the storms. So you can rest assured that that airplane might bounce and bang around, but believe me, it's a lot stronger than you could ever imagine. Military-wise, the Hawk, that was a real sports car. Great little jet, very reliable, very simple, well made, great BAE Systems jet, still flying around to this day. And commercial aircraft, Airbus A340-600's got to be up there. And I like the modernity and the new kit in the 787. If we could put them together and make a Bow bus, we would have the perfect jet, and that would be my real all-time favourite. Safest place on an airplane? They're all, every seat is safe. Sitting by an exit? Probably better than being as far away from an exit as you could be. In terms of comfort, for minimising the effect of turbulence or aircraft movement, right by the centre of gravity, which is where the wings are. So over wing exits probably is the answer to your question. Delighted to hear you've embarked on your PPL. It's never too late to start flying. I've heard of people in their 70s and 80s learning and continuing to fly. It's not cheap. It's a costly business, I think, anywhere in the world. But it's great that you've joined the aviation community. It's great fun. And I think getting into the air is a marvellous place to be. It gets away from all the hassle of life on the ground. And I wish you very well. It is never too late to learn to fly, and 55 is very young. There are people flying in their 80s. So get out there. Stop saying no. You've got the wrong mental model. Yes, you can fly. Get up to the flying club or wherever the nearest aerodrome is to you and start flying. Get involved. It'll be great fun. You'll love it. Okay. No, I didn't fly in Ireland in the military. I flew in the RAF, the Tornado GR1, the recce version actually, and you can see it just above my head here. It's a picture of one of the airplanes I flew. No, I've never had a flight where I think it's going to go the way you've suggested in your question. I've had some where I feel as if I've earned my daily wage, and other situations where, because the training can't cover everything, I've had to think long and hard and outside the box to find a solution. But I've never thought that it's all going to go down the pan, and I don't think that's a good attitude to have. There's always a solution. It's just sometimes it's harder to find than others. I'd like to take the good bits out of each aircraft. So ideally, in a perfect world, I'd like to make a Bow bus. I flew for Virgin Atlantic the A330 and 40 and the Boeing 787. Thanks very much for that. I'm glad you're enjoying the content. Really good idea. I think Captain Chris is probably pretty busy at Virgin at the moment, given all the 350 flying and a lot of new pilots coming into the airline, and he's involved in their training, but never say never. Hi, thanks for the question. My bio, well, in a nutshell, 16 years in the RAF flying fast jets. Ultimately, the fastest I flew was the Tornado GR1. And I then joined commercial aviation, Virgin Atlantic, flying the A330, the 340-300, 340-600, and finally the 787. I retired in April 2023. Why am I doing this? Well, first and foremost, for a bit of fun, bit of a laugh. Secondly, my wife told me I need to learn to speak less. Because I can't do that, I've had to direct the speaking somewhere else. So I'm shoving it down the internet in the form of trying to help people in this global demand for new pilots, trying to help them get into the industry, trying to help people who are a bit afraid of flying, and generally just have a good laugh about aviation. Hope that answers your question. We didn't have in the operator where I worked a 10-minute to landing call. I think that's more short haul than long haul. And therefore, that scenario that you asked about has not come up. So, no, I didn't. I worked for Virgin Atlantic. I would prefer not to travel with some of the lower cost carriers in Asia, South America, and Europe. I'm not a fan of Ryanair. I don't mind EasyJet at all. Good operation. Do I like BA? No, I don't. Do I like Singapore Airlines, Lufthansa, Emirates? Yeah, I do. So, given the number of carriers there are in the world, that's an incredibly difficult question to answer. And at the end of the day, which restaurants would you go into and where would you not eat? Well, some people eat in McDonald's, but they don't like KFC, and others go to Nobu, or they go to the Mandarin Oriental. It's the consumer's choice, but that gives you a flavour of where I am. Well, that's great. You love it. I love doing it. It's all for a bit of a laugh. So please stick with us. The more people like you we have with us, the better. Strength in numbers, and hopefully coming to an FIR near you, more laughs. The honest answer to your question is not very much, and even the lecturers at the time told us that it wasn't because it was going to be useful. It's historical hangover from ancient old aviators who had to do it themselves, and because they thought they'd done it, everybody else should do it. An awful lot of what I studied was even out of service, but the Civil Aviation Authority insisted that we did it. The exact content of the modern day ATPL exam, I can't comment on. It's something I need to brush up on to see what's on the syllabus, but don't expect to be using it every day because it's just simply not true. Well, thanks for the kind words. That's very flattering and very complimentary, and I'll do my best. Marhaba Nazir, thank you for your question. Look, the bottom line is if there's no safety, there's no industry, there's no airline, there's no commercial flying. It's fundamental, it's key, it's the starter. If we don't have safety, it won't work. So that has to be through everything, all the time, 24/7, 365 days a year, across the whole of the globe. No, I haven't. Marhaba, kef halik? Mumtaz, I hope. Ma salama. No need to be terrified. Don't be scared. Don't be nervous. Don't be anxious. The aeroplane is obviously flying through air, but the air that it is traveling through is also moving, and it has ripples in it. Like the surface of a road, you can get a pothole, you can get a pocket of air, and that is largely the cause of what you've experienced. It doesn't mean the aeroplane is going to fall out the sky, the wings are not going to fall off, the engines are not going to stop, the pilots are not going to lose control of the airplane. So I'd heartily recommend that you really chill, just let the airplane do its thing. It's been tested to way beyond the limits that you would experience in a normal flight, and therefore you don't want to give your mind the pictures of something terrifying and dangerous, because that's simply not appropriate. It is incredibly safe. It still remains the safest mode of transport in the world. Well, wow, you're going to go on a trip that I've never been on, but I've heard a lot about. I was recently talking to some Singapore Airlines crew all about that. That is a wonderful trip. I don't know if you're going to be in premium economy or a business, but that's going to be a heck of a trip. You will be as safe as houses. Do not worry at all, but instead concentrate enjoying the wonderful IFE and the absolutely fantastic, sumptuous in-flight hospitality and the friendly crew that will do everything for that whole 17, 18 hours to make your journey as enjoyable as possible. It'll be great. Check in with us with a story, maybe even a video of how you got on. Safe landings. Never been to Lukla in my life, seen it on videos. Bonkers. Yeah, that'd be one of the words I'd use. Wow. I have not seen any evidence supporting the need to turn off phones or put them into airplane mode. However, it's something that is globally mandated by all the aviation authorities, and therefore the airlines are obliged to insist upon it, and therefore as passengers we need to do the same thing. It errs on the side of safety, so one shouldn't complain. And what the hell if you can't get an email for a few hours? Surely that's a good thing. Just watch a film or have a kip or eat another meal. But does it affect the aeroplane if you were to forget? I very much doubt it. I have heard just in the last few days of somebody being told the reason for a go around was because people had their mobile phones on. Frankly, I don't buy it. Let's see the evidence to support it, but until then I would say it doesn't have any effect. That's an interesting one about the engine note in the cruise. I can assure you you're not about to conk, unquote. It could have been a rush in the air conditioning system and that surge has backed off, and you've perceived that incorrectly as the engine's reducing or stopping. I can assure you that's not the case. Engines do have to increase and decrease their thrust to maintain the speed that it's flying if they're in turbulence or for other factors. So there can be a little bit of hunting around. If you drive a motor car, it's a bit like you pushing the accelerator and taking your foot off the accelerator and pushing it again, on and off the gas. But I can assure you, you're not going to conk. Hello, your question I think refers to the thrust reduction after takeoff on the aeroplane. There comes a point in the climb out from the runway where about 1,500 feet above the ground, the handling pilot will bring the thrust levers back to a lower setting, and in order to accelerate they need to lower the nose of the aircraft so it's going from quite steep to less steep, but it's still climbing. You may have incorrectly perceived that or sensed that as a feeling of, oh, we're going down. We're actually not going down, we're just going up less steeply. So absolutely no reason to be nervous, worried or anxious. Are low-cost airlines to be avoided? Absolutely not. Some of them are better than others, but that applies to anything. It's your choice, and that is where the consumer makes the decision at the price point. How are they different? Well, how is Tesco's different to Fortnum & Mason's? How is CVS different to Saks Fifth Avenue? They have different business models where the low-cost airline is absolutely pared down to the bare minimum. They don't have big offices. They don't have lots of fancy kit. Everything is very, very economic, whereas the legacy carriers, the big operators, have huge headquarters, lots of staff, lots of costs, and so there's where you get your basic price differential. Eking. Ah, that's a good noise. Or a description of a noise. I've not heard that before. But to allay any fears or anxiety, it's highly likely that it is a screw jack, or a hydraulic pump or motor running for a service like extending the flaps or powering the brakes on the aircraft, and there should be no reason for you to be in any way anxious, worried, or nervous about that. It's quite normal. The pilots or the events that you see in the stuff that we're having a bit of a laugh about could be like looking at these cookery programs that are so popular across the world. You see some absolutely horrendous meals, even from professional chefs, gulping tasteless muck. Disgraceful. But we still go to restaurants. We still fly. Of course, it's a small minority, and it should not taint your opinion of flying across the world, because most operators are fine. So just stay positive and it'll be okay. But bring your own food. It's a good question about turbulence. If you imagine a cruise liner going across the Atlantic Ocean, or a river cruiser going down the Rhine or any other big river, that river is moving. Sometimes it gets a little bit mixed up, the water and the oceans and the seas, there are waves, but that airplane or that boat will continue moving through the sea. The air that airliners fly through is moving. Sometimes there are pockets of air or there are ripples in the air and it moves around. Is it unsafe? Absolutely not. Just like driving on a rough road in a car, if you hit a pothole, it's the same as an airplane hitting a pocket of air. You're absolutely safe. You really are. And I would have no trouble about getting on an airplane at any stage. Great, stay tuned. More to come. Coming to an FIR near you. I haven't flown the 737, but I do instructional work on the 737 simulator. I would say that the most startling experience I had was we had just hit top of climb out of Hong Kong, and a gentleman, not really a gentleman, he was a man, walked into the flight deck and announced that he was Jesus Christ. He played for Manchester United and he wanted to go to Rome. We duly obliged by turning left from our position direct to Rome, at which point he was escorted off the flight deck by the senior cabin crew member, and from that point he spent the rest of the time seated and belted, and then was dealt with on arrival in Heathrow. The aeroplane isn't actually going down after takeoff. What happens is that the pilots reduce the amount of thrust coming out of the engines as the environmental constraints will require less noise. It's also for conserving fuel, and at the same time as doing that, they lower the nose of the aircraft to slightly less steep climbing attitude. To you in the cabin, it might feel as if you're sinking, but you've told your brain the wrong mental model. You've got the wrong picture there. So rather than going up in an exaggerated way like that, they're going like that. Still going up, but less steep. So it's not a sinking, it's just reducing the climb angle. No need to worry, completely normal. I think in all of these tests that you have to do, the key is being relaxed, calm. And your preparation should, and especially the couple of trips before it, there'll be dress rehearsals. And actually it's a good thing if those dress rehearsals go really badly, because there's more than a fair chance, a bit like people in the theatre business, that the actual performance will be an Oscar-winning one. It'll be absolutely stellar. So do concentrate obviously on the flying, but try and remain calm. Being bunched makes the brain cave in, the thought processes break down, and you start to do silly things and it all goes to a ball of chalk. Chill out, keep calm, maybe even go to the pub the night before. A sense of humour, that's what you'll need. Short term and long term. I believe at the moment the delays for pilot training are coming down, but they were very, very lengthy. Took me 3 years when I joined and they thought that was bad. I've heard some reports in recent years of it being anything up to 7 years, but a sense of humour Don't take no for an answer. Have your wits about you, and have a bit of banter. Be able to take a joke, and you'll be fine. The worst aircraft I ever flew in my flying career was in the Royal Air Force, the Jet Provost Mark III. The throttle was a control for volume, so it was constant speed, variable noise. I actually had two experiences, both in the military, which were horrendously scary. I thought I was going to meet my maker. One was on red flag out of Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. That was at night and particularly grim. And the other one was on Squadron Exchange in Spain, where there, by the grace of God, I narrowly missed a mid-air collision. I knew nothing about it. This other guy just flew over the top of me from over a ridge. I didn't know he was there. He didn't know I was there. Just one of those big sky theory things where you'd more chance of winning the lottery than that happening. Apart from that, it's been pretty fine.